Okay, so we are doing another test with this Dr. Crafty resin. Oh God. Sorry. Always remember to put on gloves when working with resin, y'all. Okay, so we are testing out basically, this is a versus challenge. We are doing Mica powder versus a similar alcohol ink, just to show how the coloring effects are for each type of coloring for your resin. So Mica powder usually comes in a tube like this, and alcohol ink usually comes in little droplet bottles like this. So first we're going to test this red, the Mica powder red versus the peach red resin dye alcohol ink. So we're going to do a small amount. We're going to test it in these. So these are going to be our little comparison vessels. So we're going to test out these in here. So I know for a fact that the more alcohol ink you use, the more solid the color is going to look. So the less you use, the more translucent the color. So I think I'm going to do 4 drops, maybe about 10 drops in here. Okay, no, that was 20. So 20 of the peach red, and then I'm going to mix that up. Okay, and then we are going to just use, now with Mica powder, a little goes a long way. So if you're trying to have a translucent color, I do not suggest using Mica powder, because you use one little scoop like this and it's pretty dark. So we're gonna do this. I can already tell that this is like a little translucent, like you can see my fingers through the bottom. So to make it fair, I kind of want to add some more drops, which I feel that's a lot, but whatever. Give this one more stir. Okay, we're gonna put her in there. Okay, so we're gonna let this sit overnight, and I'll show you guys the results, but I just want to show you that. Okay, so next we're gonna do this size. So I already put the Mica powder in this one, and then we have just the basic white alcohol dye for this one. So this, I want to try and get it as dark as possible, because I really want it to be as white as possible. So I basically just gotta finish this whole bottle. It wasn't full, it was like maybe like this much of it was in there. So that's done. But we're gonna do this white alcohol ink, and I'll just pour that in there. Now this actually looks way darker than the other colors. I think I'm gonna add a couple shakes more into here, just so it can be a good comparison. And then again, I'm not trying to fill up the molds, I'm just trying to show you guys a comparison of the two. So these will not be used as actual coasters, but again, you want to make sure you're using enough resin for your project. Got what the ratio, I'm sure you can Google what the ratio is for every square inch. You should use like a certain amount of, number of ounces. I know there's this technique that you can use to basically color your mold. So you can color your mold with the Mica powder, and I've seen this done in like a lot of tutorials. is you basically paint on that powder onto your mold first, and then you add your resin. So I've never tried this before, so I figured it was a good enough time to do it. And then I always wondered, you know, can you do that with the alcohol ink too? So today we are going to find out. And if you have any excess powder, be careful, because any liquid is going to basically turn the powder into a liquid. So if you have excess, I would just dump it on a, I'm going to dump it off to the side on a paper towel. And then there. So this is painted with Mica powder. So it's painted with the powder, and then we're going to pour that in to see, pouring in clear resin to see how that will basically soak up the resin that's on the outside. Okay. And then, so no mixing, no pre-mixing on that. And then the same thing with the alcohol ink. This is the peacock blue. And we're gonna try and do the same technique. So, which this looks a little more green than blue, but I'm just gonna do this so I don't have any excess droplets all around, and then just gonna paint this on. See how that works. Now you see how this is already translucent. Yeah, I can't say that word. Translucent. So I feel like same thing with making the ink drops. You have to also really paint this on, like do excess. So off top, I already have my opinions on the alcohol ink versus Mica powder, but you know, I will wait till the demolding to tell you guys my opinion. And we'll see how that looks when we're done. So I'll tune in with you guys tomorrow to see how all this turned out. Okay guys, so we are back with the alcohol ink versus Mica powder as far as dyeing the resin. The translucentness, I don't know if that's a word, but the translucent quality of the resin and the way to tint resin or accent resin in the mold before you actually pour the clear resin inside. So that's what we're doing today. So it's been 24 hours. Since these are testers, I'm not gonna wait the whole like 36 hours I think you need to wait for this brand, because it really doesn't make sense if we're just doing this as a test. So our first reveal is the red Mica, this, and which came out kind of pink. So I don't know if it's actually red, it didn't really say a name on it. But this is the Mica powder one, and this is the alcohol ink. So as you can already see, there is you can clearly see through the alcohol ink one. Like this is for sure, like look, I can see that on the other side. But if I do this, you can't see. Okay, so that was test number one. That was the translucentness of it. And if you see how thin this is, you guys can see how thin this is. Like this is really, really thin. So the fact that this is so dark and solid and this is so clear just shows you how much more alcohol ink you need for this type of project. And then we tested with the blue. I think the blue is pretty even. These are both, I mean, it is a little more, this is the one where I spilled it. So this portion is mica powder, and this portion is the mica powder, and then this portion is the alcohol ink. So, and this is alcohol ink as well. So you can see the difference, again, in the translucent. And I think mica powder just has like a shine to it, which I like compared to the alcohol ink. It's not really shiny. I feel like you have to add glitter or get a different type of ink. But again, this is very, very translucent. Next, we did the white, because white is like very, very hard to do. So this is the mica powder white, and this is the alcohol ink white. So I used probably about a, I don't know, like maybe a quarter of the little bottle for the alcohol ink one. And again, I'm not letting these cure 100% just for the sake of testing, but this actually is pretty solid, which I'm surprised at how solid this is. Like, it's very solid, very sturdy looking. It almost looks like a real, looks like tile. So this is the texture. It's like very smooth, very, you know. And then this was supposed to be white, but I feel like it's more glittery. Again, if you want more shine and glitter, use mica powder, because this obviously is not, it's not the same. Like, I actually think the mica powder is actually see-through. So for white, I guess either you're gonna choose glittery or you're gonna choose solid. I would do the alcohol ink for that. Then our last test was this is the one where we used the mica powder and painted the paintbrush, and we painted the inside of the mold first and then poured clear. And then we did the same thing with this, but of course the powder adhered to the side a little better than the ink. So we're gonna see how this turned out. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's gonna be clear for both of them because I just used clear resin. This was more for like tinting and accent purposes. But I don't know, this, I like it. I mean, it looks really cool. If you were doing like some shapes, like some gem shape molds, or maybe like jewelry box molds, I think this would look really cool. To use the alcohol ink and paint the mold first with the alcohol ink, but again, it was runny, so it has like these lines where you can kind of see the runniness of the liquid and of the ink, versus this, when you paint the mold with the alcohol ink, I feel like it looks a little more fluid, it looks a little more flush. You know, you get like a solid color instead of a runny color. So if I was going to paint my mold before pouring my resin, I would for sure use the alcohol ink over, or sorry, I would for sure use the mica powder to paint the mold, paint inside the mold first, and then pour my clear resin. But I think for like a jewelry box or whatever, I'd probably use the mica powder, just because the jewelry box is going to have sides and the alcohol ink is not going to adhere to those sides. So I would definitely use the mica powder for that. But if it's just a coaster, something flat like a tray, I would use alcohol ink's fine. It's just keep in mind you're going to have these runny, like you can see right there, you're going to have these runny lines. As you can see there, it's going to look a little like liquid, like watery looking. So that is our Mica powder versus alcohol ink test, and let me know what you guys think. I'm gonna let these sit outside a little bit and cure a little more, but these are just testers, so I will catch you guys next time.